Hello everyone, welcome back once more to the 4-Digit Mania World Cup 2024. And I already botched it. Like, I should have gone for the classic opening, but instead I didn't. I think I have to let Twitch chat do the intro next time. But hey, enough said. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Semifinals Mappool Showcase, as usual, at the end of every weekend of matches, besides Grand Finals, obviously, because there's no more Mappools afterwards. We have this lovely time with you, chat, with the players that are still remaining, and those that aren't and just want to check by. And as it is usual, we have the crew, the full crew here for the qualifiers. Commentary booth, I am Juan Cristal alongside Paturaj. On my right,
Hi, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. It is a worldwide tournament that we have here. And what quarterfinals did we have this weekend? I heard about many tiebreakers. Can you confirm? Apple, you are also here this week.
Hello, I am back, and there were a lot of tiebreakers. There were a lot of really good matches, actually. A lot of upsets as well. So I'm hoping for this semifinals in 4DM, sponsored by 4DM. There will be the same things, but I think we should show them.
You have to do it too. You have to do it too.
True.
4DM.
Sure.
Let's go.
This is
Okay.
the Mappool showcase of the semifinals 4DM.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right, let's just ramp into it. No more intros. Straight into Rise 1. Let's make this quick and easy because players are gonna suffer. I feel there is a jump on the difficulty compared to the previous stage, and we shall get into it immediately. Are you guys okay with that? Sure? See? Yes?
See, yes.
Jump into it.
Oui, monsieur.
Oh my god, did you just speak French? Oh my god, I'm gonna ban you.
That was
French
a
allowed.
smooth transition. I love that transition, by the way. Good job, stream. Thank you, Danny. But now, Rise 1 it is then. The first one is Snake. Custom map by Kiriaso. Enjoy.
Yeah, Curia is a Spanish mapper, I think. And one of many new appearances on the scene. And this might be the quote-unquote easy Rise, but this is not easy. Like, this is not straightforward, and it is OD 8.5. So you see all the snaps. I think you know the drill by now. You've got that kind of map in quarterfinals, in round 16, in round 32. It's just kind of dumb here. But notice the length. 1 minute and 26 1 minute and 26 seconds.
Yeah,
Not
I
the
definitely
short
agree with the length. It's quite brutal, especially with how dumpy as this is, you said. There's just so many places to miss, and this is being so much more on these shorter maps.
This is a bit
Yeah.
of a reminiscent to Mean Tango in a way. You have this sort of jump string with jacks in between. It's just that compared to the rest of the pool, it's not as physically demanding, and overall maybe a little bit more into the stream side rather than the tech side, where Mean Tango was excelling for the most part. And also, Rice map without a single LN.
For
What?
once. Wow.
Impossible.
We are on the rice part of the rice LN spectrum. Yeah, very short map, and it doesn't stop. It just enters with a bang and goes out with a bang.
Yeah, but I think we can go into the next map, and it's going to be Mama right here. I think this is also I guess, decently new mapper in terms of like 40 ammo, right? GB Racing. Is this?
They are
I don't think
rising.
they're. This is a custom, right?
Yup.
Oh wait,
Yes, it's a custom.
I can't
It's
read.
also on
sorry.
rates.
Yeah, also, this is gonna be really funny in the context of this tournament, but here you go. Have a jump stream map.
You guys were asking a lot for sort of specific oriented picks. Well, I guess we listened to some degree. This is just straight up jump string, and this song is such a banger too. It's very, very flowy for the most part though, so it's all about the physical. If you have the physicality to keep up with OD 8.5 dance jump string, then you're good.
Yeah, I do want to say that this map is very, very jump stream heavy. However, also there are some of these anchors that you may see throughout the map that definitely cause a lot of problems, especially for me. I kind of struggle with that. But those anchors, like, they're kind of hard to be able to get one good act on, especially when having to play the jump stream in between everything. There is this little break here, so stamina I hope isn't going to be too big of an issue, even though it is 3 minutes and almost 30 seconds.
Yeah, it is pretty stamina draining, and I actually could not complete the map if I'm testing. Well, I tested this 30 minutes ago without any warm-up, but well, trust me when I say that those patterns are nothing that you see in your training jump stream map. Like, those patterns are extremely abrasive, extremely trilly as well, and I do think they are very straining, and especially if you interspace those bursts here and there. And this might actually be a tech map in disguise once again.
One LN?
Two. I think there were a few earlier, but
More.
What? I think something that I kind of just realized is this is kind of like a baby Icy World map with kind of the anchors as well as having to like.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean.
Hand streams on,
It
on
is,
the
it
other
is a
hand.
lot. It is a lot, and this section specifically is very, very tricky. So split heavy compared to what we saw before, which was mostly like jumps on one hand, transition with others, and now it's just very, very split heavy, and it has a lot of anchors. The rolls as well can be very difficult to hit, I would say. And overall, despite the map being quite jump stream, more so than anything else, it has some elements of dump in between that could trip some players up. And the reason why we have such a specific jump stream pick as well is because the rest of the pool doesn't feature jump stream as much as we would like. So we felt it was fair to include a map that was quite specific for a skill set that we were lacking a little bit in the rest of the Rise sections.
Yeah, and I hope you all like that appearance of a funny trill, both columns in the middle. I think there's a few of those in other maps, but here we're just getting to the ending. It's a bit simple, but yeah, that one section that you were talking about where it's a bit more split is definitely going to be very, very killer for some teams.
So into Rise 3 now, we moved from the two earlier picks and we have a funny background. A custom
Yeah,
map.
this is a meme pick, and there are a lot of jacks in there, and there are a lot of mini jacks as well. I think this is the long. No, this is not the long jack pick. This is the very gracie, very croquet in nature. And thank you, croquet, for this map. Diff easy, yeah, sure. No, that's not an easy map at all. Magic Crush Ice.
The song doesn't really help too much. It's pretty hard to follow what's going on, considering that the song is really odd. At least to me, it felt that way. And the snaps are just all over the place. You have a lot of technical dumps in here that you have to follow through, and follow that up with just the map just throwing everything at you. Due to how rhythmically complex this is, it's very, very hard to keep up with the accuracy. You have to break and go between different snaps and different types of patterns with gaps in between. It's never jump streaming, it's never blocking jump streaming, it's never chord jack. It's just transitions between so many different things. It's quite a mixed rice pick, and I would only really expect this to be picked by rice pickers that are pretty complete and are able to just do pretty much anything that you throw at them. Those Dorito patterns, for example, are super fast and insanely hard to hit because the hidden mini jack that gets created out of it.
Yeah, if you remember Kimuri's pick in the quarterfinals, and oh my god, this drill. What is this drill? If you remember Kimuri's pick from quarterfinals, this is kind of similar in a way, but I do think this is very much more abrasive and it's very crooked.
Yeah, that drill, by the way, is like the funniest pattern ever. It's so good. But this map, honestly, it's a decent bit of chord jack, but I think like everything else besides like the kind of basic chord jack is super, super difficult to add. You kind of find yourself finding 200s on like every single grace. You find yourself getting a bunch of like kind of bad judgments and a lot of places to even miss on, even at these chord jack sections, because they kind of come out of nowhere a lot of times, and they're way faster than you kind of expect.
Yeah, it's very straining overall. 2 minutes and 43 seconds might be kind of average length, but it really doesn't stop in it. I do think it's very, very stamina draining in a different way than Rise 2. Yeah, very funny song as a whole. Like, very funny song. Like, not even map, but song.
Yeah, honestly, I think everything about this pick is very, very funny. There's like so much that you could like look at and kind of be confused about, which they do make sense once you think about them a bit, but like at first glance, it's like, this trill.
The background also kind of makes me trip a little bit. It's a very fun map to play though, if you have the physical requirements for it though. The trill is actually legit very fun to play. Like, it just looks very weird, but it's very fun to play.
Yeah, the background looks like a bad dream, and to some people, the map as a whole may look like a bad dream, but it's gonna be all right. You got to semifinals for a reason.
Can we change the map because the background started to make me feel a little bit this? There we go. Oh no! Can we go back, please? I don't like anchor mixes.
Let's go. We've got Miraculin here. Not even in SV. It's not Miraculin, is it? So this is gonna be a little bit less techy, but it's still gonna be techy. This start is nothing to talk about. This is not what you're gonna be mainly playing. It's gonna come in the drop in a little bit.
Yeah, this map is kind of split up into two sections, and we're already seeing this first section right here, and you're kind of already seeing it. I would kind of classify this map as a speed map, so if you're not that great at that skill set, it can be hard. And also, you see these like one-hand trills. I think later on some of them have like mini jacks at the end of them. It may also be here, and those are just so difficult to actually play. I find myself getting a miss every single time.
Yeah, I think there's some element of one-handed tech, like the one-handed tech that you got in Slamurai in quarterfinals that you can see here. If you have this kind of skill set, this might be useful in getting good accuracy on this one, because I think it might be okay keeping combos through it all, but getting good accuracy, like getting the right order of the nodes is kind of a challenge in itself here.
Oh, those are the mini jacks we were talking about? Like the ending of those?
I believe so. Yeah, they're like definitely quite brutal to hit.
There's a lot of transition mini jacks here, and oh my god, the one-handed trills though, that's the most disgusting of this whole map, for sure, in terms of how difficult it can be to play. And that, oh yeah, those are the mini jacks you meant, I'm pretty sure as well. The column 3 there being a bit stacked. But overall, the map mostly, like, It reminds me a lot of, was it like round of 16, the red flashlight background that had this kind of three column patterns that were very speedy. This is kind of similar, just that it includes all columns for the most part, and it has some technical to it as well with the mini jacks. But most of the difficulty here mostly comes from the speed elements that it requires due to it being a bit dumpy. But nonetheless, with that being said, let's go to the last Rise map of the pool.
And this is gonna be Hybrid 1, Camellia, wolves standing towards enemies. And I
This
say
is
Hybrid
not Hybrid 1.
yeah, there are some LNs, you see. That's an LN section, right?
Hybrid 0.5, I guess.
But yeah, this is gonna be, I think, the first Camellia pick of the tournament, funnily enough.
I think so, actually, which is really, really interesting. We went all the way to semis until we had to really put one in. But this is an 11-bit map, so I feel like, in my opinion, I found this map to be a bit simpler than some of the other maps. There are some like mini jacks embedded into everything, but they aren't honestly too bad to play. I think if you're not too physicality capped, then this may actually be the easiest map, since for me at least, I was able to get, I think, the best score on this map than anything else.
Yeah, I think it flows pretty well, and it's kind of similar to a jump stream map, funnily enough. But you can see the snaps, the mini jacks here are pretty disruptive, so it kind of plays like a mixed rice.
Yeah, but there are still some of the patterns that are very tricky to hit. The mini jacks are a problem, but if you combine that with faster snaps than normal, then it can get a bit too tricky. And you have this sort of transitioning patterns where you have some tech in between, so I think it's very fair to call this a mixed rise. And the physically intense, kind of burst make up for as a difference compared to the classic jump string pick we had previously. And it's a bit like Mappool was saying, if you have a physicality really for a map like this, then you should mostly be fine. You may prefer this over some of the other Rise picks, but if you don't, then you kind of want to avoid this at all costs, because the physical barrier is getting a bit too high, I think, for some teams, especially in the lower bracket. And
this section is funny.
Yeah, this section specifically is where most of the meat comes from, because the mini jacks are very intrusive. You have to be essentially, I don't want to say quad streaming, because that's definitely not quad streaming, but you have this sort of jacks in between the jump string that feel a bit like you're quad streaming, and it's very tricky. Especially if you're not used to it. You have to, you have like 3 consecutive nodes and 2 jacks in different hands, and that is something that if you're not very well versed and you're not very physically capable, they catch you by surprise and you're gone.
Yeah, and here we're getting to the conclusion. I definitely feel that like that last third is going to be where a lot of teams maybe find most of their misses are like 200s from. So definitely be practicing that if you are going to be playing that map. But I think we finally go into hybrid. We went from hybrid 0.5 to hybrid 1 here. We have a Danny map.
This is the qualifier. This I'm gone. It's just that
Holy.
it's not.
Yeah, it's essentially the same thing, right?
I mean, it sounds the same.
Yeah,
but it
so
doesn't
this
play
is,
the same at all, though.
Yeah, it doesn't play the same at all. Yeah, like this is a pretty unique map in terms of Danny PX approach. There's a little bit of coordination elements here, and they're not really that difficult of releases, but they're very interspaced by light jump stream, and that goes all the way. The snaps are very simple in this map, but it gets pretty fast. It flows pretty well, and those long jacks are also very funny.
This is mostly a very, very rise-heavy hybrid, as we usually have on Hybrid 1, with Hybrid 4 usually being more LN-sided. In this particular case, the LNs are mostly filler, sometimes intrusive a little bit in the coordination aspect, but otherwise it's mostly about hitting the rise and the long jacks.
Yeah, and especially like the two-handed trails also demand the same long jack abilities that is required from the actual long jacks. So, in essence, this might be the quote-unquote long jack pick.
Yeah, this definitely has quite a bit of long jack difficulty, and I thought that that was kind of the hardest part. But another part that people can trip up on, we saw it a bit earlier. There's like quite a few bursts in between, and you kind of have to be holding some LNs around it, so that can definitely mess some people up. These like kind of one-hand trills that you're playing earlier, and so there's that. I think there's some later on in this last quarter though, so you may see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and in my experience, this might be the lightest the lightest in terms of physicality among all the pool. Like this might be one of the easiest maps of the pool in terms of physicality, is what I'm saying. So if you're kind of lagging behind, you might consider this one in terms of getting good accuracy. The patterns flow pretty well, like except for those long jacks and those trails. But everything else, like the light jump streams and so on, they are pretty rolly and lend themselves to be, I guess, said to be
A bit more
sharp
manageable,
shooted.
I guess.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, this is one of those maps that you'll see many players, or at least some players, choking on the jacks, I think. And otherwise, maybe have Rice mains struggling with the shorter lens. They may drop some accuracy there. But otherwise, it's a map that flows fairly well. It doesn't really have a high physical ceiling or like requirement. So yeah, I'll say this may be a pretty popular map once Rice gets exhausted, or like Rice teams who don't really want to delve deep into the harder stuff. Like if they want to transition to something else, this is a good pick for them, I think.
Wait, I just noticed that the car's license plate is a double S. That's your goal.
Hey
That's your
yo,
goal. Get a double S.
Please.
Please get a double S in match.
But yeah, I think we go on to the next map, Hybrid 2. It's going to be Rush Hour. This map does have a background video, so if you do play with background video, keep this in mind. I was kind of struggling because it's kind of like very, very distracting.
Yeah, this one is
Claren
really... Yeah, this is a custom map from Claren. Thank you, Claren. And this is very coordination heavy, and like the main focus is not even coordination, it's the 224 BPM mini jacks. Those mini jacks are so fast.
I mean, 220 is not a VPM where many people can actually accurately play mini jacks. This is pretty extreme, but they are extremely isolated for the most part, so they are hittable if you know they're coming. And there's this LN transitions that are a bit funky. Combine that with the mini jacks and some fitter accuracy gaps on the Rise, and you get Hybrid 2.
Yeah, I definitely think the LN difficulty on this especially is really, really high in terms of hybrids. We're already seeing it. We saw some LN difficulty earlier, but I think it gets even more difficult. But keep in mind, with those mini jacks, like, normally, honestly, if you're not super, super physical out of an LN player, it can be really difficult to hold the combo on this map.
Yeah,
The
in
song
my
is also very
experience...
funny.
Yeah, this is very litmus score in terms of song selection here. Like oh my god, like those gaps sometimes are very, very daunting, and those mini jacks are evil, absolutely evil. I expect a lot of accuracy to be dropped there. This is a pretty standard density section, but that does make for a lot of the long note difficulty here.
It's interesting because LN players are probably going to find this not so hard, but then they get the mini jacks and they die, and Rise players are going to be like, well, I just die because the LNs are too hard. So kind of a map where you really need all-rounders, I think, to play. Maybe a bit LN bias, but I think LN players would struggle with those jacks if they are not like all-rounder at all.
Okay, tag yourself in the background. I'm the guy who's saying what's going on.
This time is now, this is Rush Hour. That's me.
I am money rules, I guess. Looks like me.
Let's go.
Okay,
Collab one.
okay, Chad, you can be the anime girls. Let's go into the next hybrid. And this one, this is hands down the best map of the pool. This map is so good. Thank you, Alex Dunk.
Yeah, we see Alex Dunk making. I believe this is their first map in 40M this year. I know they had a bunch last year, right?
Yeah, they had a bunch last year, and mind you, Alex Dunk first started to map this as an SV, but ended up converting this to a hybrid halfway through. And that's your 4DM lore.
That's classic, right? That's just what happens. I hope they keep some of the SVs, right?
They still have the diff layering around, but I don't think they finished it.
Nah, unfortunately, this hybrid doesn't have SVs, so you only get to deal with one of the best maps of the pool.
Only. But yeah, now we're actually getting into the real map. We see how gracy this map is. Alex Dunk is decently well known for having these really gracy LNs that are kind of difficult to act. And it's kind of the same for the Rice. And when I was playing this, I kind of found myself nipping some of them, like Core Check, if I'm gonna be honest. So keep this in mind when playing.
Yeah, they're very aesthetic. Like, the Graces are very aesthetic, and some of those sections kind of play like chord jacks, as you say. But as you can see, there are a lot of repetitive patterns as well, and Alex Dunk experimented a lot of those patterns, but they might be a little bit mind-blockable, but we worked a fair amount to make them as least mind-blockable as possible. Especially this section. I used to mind-block this section, but I don't know what kind of magic Alex Dunk applied to this section, but Alex just changed the spacing and it seemed to fix the mind-blockiness.
I think this ending is actually kind of weird. Yeah, I think we have these bursts. I remember playing this and being like, wow, that came out of nowhere a bit.
Yeah, you have to be careful because some people may even think the map is over after those lands. They are not. It's not. So don't forget that. You can easily lose the map if you forget that ending.
Yeah, but yeah, that's gonna be your most technical hybrid, and it's still less technical than that Dr. Manga's Restless Song. One may argue, but it is still pretty technical.
Into the
Alright.
last hybrid, more LN-oriented one.
Yeah, this map
It
is
is.
definitely quite a bit Ellen oriented. It's Vanta Black by Arpia. I think some players may know this song. I think it's been used in one or two terms before. In my opinion, I think this is probably the least physical hybrid. Definitely going to be picked by these LN teams. I think it's decently easy to act up until like the ending.
Yeah, I think this kind of plays like a long note density, but with a fair amount of mini jacks. So that's why it's in the hybrid category, but it is pretty long note oriented.
Yeah, and also this map is very short, less than 2 minutes here. So, especially with players most likely going to be having decently high AC on this map, it's going to be important to be able to hold your combo in this map, and maybe sometimes you may want to focus more on your combo, especially in these mini jack sections, as Patu did say. And I think we just saw one right there. There's a bit more later on, though, that you will definitely have to focus on.
Or is that the Pal World background?
I think this map was made before Power World was like anywhere near being made.
Yeah, no, this map is pretty old, I think, yeah.
Green out mini jacks. Let's go.
Yeah, the mini jacks, the mini jacks make half of the maps, worth, I feel like.
Wow, mini jacks.
Wow, mini jacks! Yeah, wow, mini jacks plus the land density. That's basically this map.
Good summary, yeah. And there's not really all that much. I think it's decently easy to act. Some of these LNs are very short, but they kind of play basically like a Rice.
It's not too physical either as well. So this could be maybe the LM map that the LM players decide to go for after they are done with the easier portion of the LM pool. Because, spoiler alert, the long no pool is quite difficult. There's a main culprit for that. We'll get to that eventually. But before that, we go to long no 1. So the easier quote-unquote LM map of the pool. It is Fortalice here by Irone and Fula, of course. Classic Fula appreciation moment.
Love Fola. Fola's the best. Yeah, this is definitely probably the easiest LN by quite a bit, actually. I can't really think of how difficult the rest of the LNs are, but something to keep in mind is these LN graces that you kind of see. Some of the releases are a bit awkward. I think we saw some, like 1 or 2 earlier, but they definitely get a lot worse later on in the map.
This is by far the easiest LM pick of the pool, I'd say. Physically, it's not too intense, and it's pretty flowy for the most part. It has some, right, that could maybe make it trip you up. But otherwise, it's fairly simple. Mostly comparison with the rest of the LM pool. I think this may be one of the times, or rather the first time, where the LN easy map is quite easier, I think, than the rest of the pool. Because What Execute Me last round was easier physically, but otherwise it was pretty challenging. This one specifically has those gaps that can be very tricky to release properly, but otherwise there isn't much to it. It is overall just standard LM map with no surprises really, other than the tight releases.
Yeah, if I want to speak from a map pooling perspective, kind of a more standard map pooling perspective, like in terms of Mania at least, this classifies itself as a wild card and a very all-rounded one, mind you. So there's a little bit of everything. There's releases, there's density, there's coordination, there's literally everything in this map. And that is very, very much different from Word Execute and from many other easy long note picks from previous rounds. And you might find your release map within the medium pool, like within either LN2, LN3, or LN4. But this is not your LN release pick.
Yeah, and I think we're getting up to the ending. I remember there being a burst towards here. I can't remember exactly where or when it is, but yeah, keep this in mind.
Even in the Liza pattern, this map just has literally everything.
Your true wildcard LN map.
Yeah, this is the most wildcard of wildcards, and wildcard does not mean anything in this tournament at all, because everything is a wildcard.
So now there's a QR code. Hey yo, maybe that tells you who's hosting next year. Anyways, it is Long Note 2 time, and it's rework.
2016, let's go! Where are the SVs, Dark?
True. Where are the SVs?
Where are the SVs?
Where are the SVs that are unreadable on Percy? I tried to play that diff today and it was actually terrible for me.
Okay, so this is actually reworked, and this is actually mapped in 2024, not 2016. Juan, go ahead.
Yeah, so essentially this is evolution of the original Time to Say Goodbye. It keeps some of the very ugly patterns like that one that you just saw before that is very, very heavy on one hand coordination and just coordination all across the board. There were a lot of one-handed patterns that got nerfed throughout the run of this map, but it's mostly about, you know, coordinating 3 nodes while holding a node for a long time. It's, as you can see right here. The difference with the original, it's just way more one-force and overall more dump than the classic one. Otherwise, some of the patterns stay the same, like this transition here and the ones on the intro are very similar, and the transitions and the solos as well. It's mostly the KIs getting a little bit of a buff in terms of vocal dumping, one-force, and this transition's a little bit trickier to hit, considering that the jacks are a bit more rough into one hand than mixed in between 2. But overall, I think this is a more pleasant version to play, although way harder. It's only 0.1 star rating harder than the original, but I assure you, this is so much harder, so much more difficult. There has no SVs though, which I'm a bit sad. I really wanted to keep the SVs after this KI, but I couldn't.
Yeah, what I find funny is that the 2016 version, without the SVs that is, kind of plays like a pretty standard coordination map, and the 2024 version kind of plays like a timing hell, like a mini timing hell, so to speak, like with those dumps and so on. So you can see the difference between the meta of 2016 and the meta of 2024.
It's funny because I think original Time to Say Goodbye is a bit like original Timing Hells, and this is more like modern Timing Hells, because this doesn't have too many, like, the classic 2-note jacks for all Timing Hells. This doesn't have that much of it. This is mostly streamy, and it's more on the side of coordination and mostly coordinating type releases. But otherwise, this isn't like, I don't know, something like Kami-sama Nejimaki. It's more like number 39. And I missed on the easiest part of the map. I'm very mad.
So sad. It looks like the progress bar, by the way, is broken. But yeah, there's still a bit of the map left, and definitely I agree. This is very much like a timing hell. Yeah, I feel like y'all covered it really well. That intro, by the way, they changed the intro is so much nicer now. So thank you, Juan.
I mind blocked the intro with the new version. I'm so used to the old one. But yeah, there were some changes. Hope it plays better. That's cool.
What's the next step? Like future jazz?
Don't give me ideas.
All right, but I guess we can go into Rice or LN4, not Rice. It's Idola, and this is by Miku Aimbot, correct?
Yes, Hiruru is the name that they go for now, but that will be Miku Aimbot. And yeah, this map is pretty fun. It's actually not too challenging either on the physical side, but it's certainly way harder in the physical side than the previous pick we just saw. This one, I feel it's still within my reach of physical abilities, so I didn't struggle too much when playing this, but it's certainly a step up in terms of physicality. And it's maybe what you would consider to be the density map of the LN side. But considering there are many hivers that are like density focused in the LN department, this isn't like just straight up full density as you would maybe normally expect, and maybe we saw on previous pools as well. This has a bunch of release elements, and some of the patternings are a bit tricky. You have those 3-node anchor / jacks that drag on and drain your stamina quite a bit, but otherwise it plays somewhat like a density pick more than anything.
Yeah, in terms of density, in my experience, this is also very coordination demanding, and those very long nodes do prolong themselves longer than I'm comfortable with. So in my experience, this was a very hard map, and this might be the hardest map of the Ammon pool, even taking into account the last long node,
No
which is supposed
way.
to be the
No
hardest
way.
map.
LM5 is so much
Yeah.
harder than this.
I think that's crazy to say.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of washed out to be fair, and this, in my experience, was very physically straining.
Well,
Yeah,
when we get to Lono 5, I'll explain. But yes, this is training on the physical side, but it's training in a different way that what Lono 5 is gonna hit us with, I feel. This is more like if you have good finger independency, this will not drain your stamina too much, I think, and therefore you will not struggle as much with the physical requirements. But otherwise, yes, I can see this being, especially for Rise players, quite a challenge to hit physically.
Yeah, I definitely think it's really, really easy to combo break on this map as well. As you did say, there are those anchors, and if you aren't too comfortable with having really good finger independencies, that is a killer combo place, and it's like constant throughout the entire map. So if you're able to hold a full combo, I'm gonna be honest, you may like top score.
I almost got an FC on my side with I'm so sad. Anyways, let's go for the last long no map of the pool before jumping into the SVs. And let me tell you why Seiren is the hardest LN map of the pool. I do not appreciate nor accept any critics in this regard. This map is the hardest because it has a little bit of everything that we saw on ML1. It's just up to 11, basically. This is so fast that it's kind of reaching that level of physicality that I feel most of the LM players will start to find uncomfortability in. And I think that's the main reason why this should be long no fire and therefore the hardest. But I can see the argument being made that if you're very, very well versed in the physical side, then this may actually be the easiest LM map of the pool.
Yeah, I think if you're super, super good physically, this can be the easiest, just because you can kind of combo through all of it, but at the same time, even then, you're still going to be struggling on Act because there are these coordination sections. There are a lot of really technical sections to be able to play, a lot of reverse shields, just really everything is thrown at you all at once, and it's only 2 minutes long, so
And
it's
the tight
short.
releases too, like, come on, this is just insane. Reverse shields all over the place, and the speed is super, super crazy high compared to everything else. And I cannot play this. Like, this is literally the thing I am the worst at in the LN department. Like, it is so hard for me to hit anything of this. Transitioning back and forth between speed and finger independency type of patterns is something I am terrible at. And this is not personal. This is 100% rather personal bias, and it's not the reason why this is called LM5 instead of the rest. It's genuinely way harder physically than anything else on the pool, I feel, on the LN department. Maybe comparable to Time to Say Goodbye, but I feel Time to Say Goodbye is something that you need to get used to play because it's not that fast. I mean, it's 250, but it's never like stream 250. In this case, it's not quite 250, but certainly very, very, very consistent streams.
Yeah, and this ending is really difficult. What are you gonna say, Patu?
Yeah, I think like the spikes in this map in particular are harder to handle than in any other map. I do agree on this point. But yeah, your experience on the Ellen pool is going to be very, very diverse, I want to say. Like this entire long node pool is kind of gives you a little bit of everything, even in semifinals.
All right, and time for SV1. I'll let you all two handle it since I am not an SV player.
And drum roll, who's gonna be your mapper for SV number 1 in semifinals? It's gonna be Orca.
Oh my god, Mr. Ka!
Mr. Ka. I swear. But yeah, this is Orca. This is the comeback of Orca in 4DM, and it's none other than Speculation by Sakura. And oh god, this is true Orca style. Very, very, very abrupt teleports, very flashy execution, and you know Orca for this.
This is so fun, by the way.
Yeah, if you thought that quarterfinals was hard, and I do agree that quarterfinals SVs was going a little bit, maybe a little bit too hard compared to the round 16, but this is definitely harder than quarterfinals still. We're not ramping the difficulty that much up, I dare say. Like, when you get those gimmicks down, I feel like this is okay to get good Akon.
I honestly
Like, compared
think
to
that
Sing Sing.
I think if you slap a Daisy Cutter video in the background for this, then people are just gonna be playing it better for some reason. That's like the main thing that this map may be missing. Otherwise, I think this is not as hard as it really looks. It's mostly about knowing the song properly, because I think if you know the song, if you heard it enough, then most of the patterns feel like pretty right to play. Like there aren't many traps. It's just very, very southern SVs.
Yeah, like it's very Orca core in the sense that it is all very, very much 1/4 snap, and the rhythmic complexity is not that high. It's just very, very flashy.
And by very, very flashy, we mean like actually really very, very absolutely flashy. That thing looks awesome. And I believe, I mean, I guess we have to give SB2 a shot. I'm not sure if people will be banning SB1 more than SB2.
Yeah, because honestly, like, the approach of SB2 is really interesting to me. This is gonna be... What do you pronounce this? Like, FFFFF?
I think it's just 5 hammer.
Oh yeah, 5 hammer. You do pronounce it 5 hammer, so commentators... just... This is good. This is top tier commentary. But anyways, this is a custom map from Odyssey 22. Someone who has been playtesting the heck out of our SV Mappool, and thank you very much for your contributions. And one of their maps is actually entering the 4DM realm after SVSC. And this is very, very gimmicky in a completely different way than Orca's gimmicks. And,
yeah, this is just telegraphed SVs for the most part, really. If you cannot read telegraphed SVs, good luck playing this. You can see it, right? You go from 4 1 doubles to a 3 note, and then it repeats but the other way around. That's like an easy telegraph. You have that appearing on other things, especially on the trails, like that one, for example. Yeah, that trail is not that hard to play. It just looks gorgeous. And there's also on other instances where, yeah, that is very funny, by the way.
Funny.
It is the same pattern repeating, so don't worry, guys. If you know how to read telegraphs, then this is fine.
Yeah, honestly, this map is really funny, and depending on your proficiency, SV1 or SV2 might be the hardest for you, but like, the particularity about semifinals SVs is that both of the SVs are actually 1/4 snapped. You do not have much rhythmic complexity in this map pool, but you do have SV variety. So SV players might be thankful for us here, because rhythmic complexity is kind of a little bit of an experience to learn. But yeah, here you go. Thank you, custom mappers.
So let's jump into the essence of all tournaments here with means to an end resolve. Rafflesia.
This is my first time actually hearing this artist. Interesting to see that it's a new artist for TB today.
I'm by Japan News.
It's gonna be interesting to see what this map provides us because I have seen none of it at all.
I'm gonna be honest.
I mean,
me
it's
too.
only 6.5 and star rating 6.18, so expect difficulty. Like when you need to downgrade the OD to something like 6.5, like anything below 7, that screams LN trouble to me. And this map has a bit of that. And it's very, very, very dense. So we saw some hybrids being density oriented. Well, this has a little bit of that, and also on the rise department, and it just goes very, very hard.
Yeah. Like the snapping on these bursts are actually insane. Those are going to be really, really difficult, but probably really satisfying to be able to play.
Yeah, it's the kind of fun that you hit it, you're like, oh, that felt so good, and then the next one hits you on the face, and you swear to God that your stamina is not the worst in the universe, even though it may be.
Yeah, if you look at those snaps, like those bursts are really, really tight, and the patterning is not exactly smooth either. You cannot like jump trail those or anything. You might compare this to last week's tiebreaker from France. The quarterfinals tiebreaker was very, very technical. This kind of clashes against that, in that this is going to be more of a stamina-oriented tiebreaker rather than a technical tiebreaker.
Oh, my Zestiria missed. Holy, really shows how difficult this map is.
You should be scared. You might still find some miss.
Yeah, and this map is 5 minutes, so honestly, a decently not too long for a tiebreaker. So it definitely has a lot happening in these 5 minutes. I don't think there's been a break so far, so stamina is going to be a definite issue. There have been so many rice sections that just are going to kill her for your stamina. Okay,
you
and
have the
there's
break.
a break. Thanks.
Mystian got a 960k on this, man. I am so not ready.
Mysterian is a 4-digit confirmed.
Real. But yeah, we have this little break so that your AC, you can gain some AC at least. We got these LNs just so that it's like inflating the AC even more. But yeah, I think so far these LNs, even the LN difficulty has been really, really high. The density has been actually just insane.
Cracked?
And some of the technicality just throughout. There have been like reverse shields that spewed into everything. Anime.
Oh my god. SV! Yeah!
And
I thought it was
here
gonna-
is density.
I thought it was gonna say Elpsai Congrue from Science Kids. I was gonna lose my mind.
This is so insane though. The density here is a bit too much. Compared to everything else on the pool, this goes hard and very much so. And right before that, you have an SV transition into. So if you mess up the SV, you are more than likely gonna struggle a lot trying to recover from the timing that you require to hit that density there. So the SV may not be as hard, but entering into the pattern with the SV and not getting destroyed by the pattern afterwards is the challenge there.
Or what is this rise? What are those patterns, man?
Yeah, the burst mix into the jump stream is like actually way too difficult. And now we're into these like in just pure hybrid. We have LN right next to Rice, just causing so much difficulty for the player.
Yeah, man, those rice bursts were actually disgusting. I'm seeing them for the first time, and they are actually disgusting.
Well, definitely
Imagine having stamina remaining by this point, man.
That's true, especially after having to play like the LN density and then immediately after like really dense rice and then just going into this right here, which is just everything put together. I feel like it'll be really a battle combo for some players on this, since I don't think people are actually gonna get too good of scores.
The triple quad jack. What a way to end the map.
Is this Eternal Drain? Oh
Imagine.
boy.
Mappool Grand Finals speed, right? Eternal Drain. That'd be so great.
That probably would be too easy, right?
I mean, you can remap it. Like
Oh,
you
no.
did
You
for
can
time
remap
to say goodbye.
Eternal Drain.
I could do that, I guess.
1.1.
No, actually that's probably fine though, right?
300 BPM, let's go.
Hey,
Wait, no, that's
that's
320. Okay.
that's it, right? That's
I
all
think
for the
so.
semifinals Mappool. This has been quite a fast one, right? I feel like we always run after an hour.
We're speedrunning.
Yeah, we're speed running showcases any percent. Remember,
Yeah,
next
now
time
we-
Twitch has to open the stream, so prepare your best phrases for it, I guess.
Yeah, the thing is, we didn't have a 1 hour long intro and 1 hour long outro, so yeah, this has been pretty short, all things considered.
We still have the bracket though.
Oh, of course we do. And we
You all
have quite
forgot.
a matchup. No, there's no way I forgot. I was looking at the top right of the screen and this said there. Next up, it's the bracket. So let's get into that. We have the 2 remaining matches of the winners bracket here. Vietnam, the seed number 1, against upsetters Philippines here, who defeated the United States in a very heavy tiebreaker. And on the other side, Taiwan, who struggled quite a bit to defeat the United Kingdom here, taking it to the tiebreaker. I said before the matches that was going to be one of the matches of the week, and I'm glad I was right. Malaysia will be their opponent on the sides of the winners bracket after defeating Canada in a 6-3 battle, showing their proficiency on the long north department. And Taiwan, despite being a very all-rounded team, will now face what I think is a team up for the task. I think this is the match of the week for sure. Malaysia versus Taiwan.
Southeast Asia, Southeast
Wait.
Asia winners bracket.
Oh my god, no.
Southeast Asia winners bracket, let's go.
Honestly, for me, I feel like Vietnam Philippines is going to be the most interesting. I feel like Vietnam has shown some struggles in terms of maps. And Philippines definitely, Vietnam is going to have more information on Philippines just off of how many maps they played against the US. But even then, is that really going to be enough?
I don't know. The Philippines were looking very solid. That's true. Silicosis has been like insane. But we have to see if the third player can keep up with this level of difficulty, with increased difficulty specifically. I haven't personally been following Vietnam so much during this tournament, but they have been crushing everyone that got on their way. I don't see how it may be different with the Philippines. For sure, it's going to be an interesting match, though. I will try my best not to miss it, but considering time zones, I am a bit sad that I probably will miss it.
We're kind of unlucky in the Americas for these winter brackets.
But into the losers bracket, we have we have those teams on the losers bracket. I still cannot believe the fact that we're gonna see US, Brazil, China, and Thailand on the same losers bracket side. Like, that's just insane.
Only one country is gonna make it out alive of these.
Like, out of those 4
Fantasy
countries,
League is dead.
I think they all played at least one 4DM final, right? Other than
I
no,
think
China
so.
actually, yeah, China won it.
So
US
has
won
Brazil.
it. Brazil won it, right? Or they got second.
I don't think they've won it. I think they
No,
got
they got
second one.
second or third, and then Thailand, who also were there. I don't know. Like, this is just unbelievable to me. The US being down this early as well is kind of unbelievable to me. They were looking so good, and they get dropped down after a difficult defeat against the Philippines here. They will be facing Thailand in hopes to recover, waiting for whoever wins between Brazil and China. Brazil, the team of the tiebreakers, they tiebreaker every single round. They got 6-4 against Sweden. That's the largest gap they ever had on a match. They got 6-5 on the first round against Japan, 6-5 against Spain, 6-4 against Sweden, and 6-5 against Germany. Insane. So China, I mean, I'll be careful, and I'll suggest you again, like I did to Sweden, try in the tiebreaker.
That'd be sick. Imagine Brazil goes to tiebreaker, wins, and then plays the US, and then it goes to tiebreaker again.
Why did you just say win at the end of that? Come on. I would love to see Brazil in the finals. I bet it's going to be very hard for them, but, you know,
No
they made it this far.
I'm a bit biased, is all I gotta say. I may or may not have some fantasy league players on the US.
Oh my god. That makes sense.
Let all the matches go to tiebreaker.
Oh, that would be great. But hey, on the bottom side of the bracket, perhaps not as stacked as the top one, but certainly pretty stacked. United Kingdom will be facing Italy, whereas Canada will be facing Indonesia. Indonesia, who just comes after, honestly, kind of crushing Japan. I believe that and Italy versus Russia are the only two matches that have been sweeps of the previous stage. So, interesting, to say the least. Canada looking very good against Malaysia. Unfortunately, not quite enough to take down seed number 2 of the tournament. It was a difficult task. And now against Indo, who's always that kind of team that you're not so sure about. Seems like always a team that overperforms when it matters most. And despite how much I enjoyed seeing the United Kingdom perform so far, Italy is going to be quite the threat, I think. And I feel the pool is starting to get out of their control, I feel, for UK, whereas Italy tends to scale a little bit better on more physically demanding pools.
UK versus Italy also is our only European matchup. I think they are also our only European teams, right? So, yep. Battle of Europe right there. Who's going to make it into
to be fair, you could argue that the United Kingdom is not in Europe anymore, but let's not get into that.
It's in the continent. It's in the continent. The United Kingdom is not a continent. It's...
yes, it's true.
But
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it for our bracket. I feel like there's no more bracket. There's not a loser bracket, is it?
Yo, imagine if we did a loser bracket. That would be fun. It would be hell to host. Nah, no way. So what's your pick for the losers bracket though? I'm thinking the winner between US, Thailand, and the winner between China and Brazil. So I think that match will be very insane. But I have my money on UK versus Italy as well.
Yeah, I definitely think the winner of US, Thailand, and China, Brazil is going to be good. But I think China, Brazil is also going to be really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think like this entire US, Thailand, China, Brazil, like all of the 3 matches in this part of the bracket are going to be kind of insane.
I think every match is going to be kind of insane from now on, to be honest.
Yeah, if semis was really, really insane, then if quarters was really insane, how can't semis? Think about it.
True. We have seen only 2 sweeps last round. Why don't we reduce the number to 0 this time, huh? Do you think it's possible? I think it's possible.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's get this bread.
All right. I think that's going to be it for us, right, Juan?
That sounds like it will be it for us, yeah. It's been a very, very exciting quarterfinals. We're now entering into what we will argue early late game, I guess, which is a phrase that doesn't really make any sense if you think about it, because early and late are not words that combine well together. But let that aside, and I think that statement is pretty true, because 4DM is only running for 4 more weeks. Is that correct? We have next week semis, then finals, then grand finals. No, it's not even 4. It's just 3 more weeks. It's almost over. It felt like it just vanished instantly.
Yeah, it already is so close to being over. That's kind of insane. But with that, we're really just getting closer and closer to knowing who the winner of 4DM is going to be this year.
Any bets now that we have a bit of a clearer picture? Who do you think is going to win?
Yeah, what's impressive to me is that I think like throughout the history of 4DM, there hasn't really been a dominant country or anything. We've always changed countries, I think, as far as I could tell, anyways.
I'm still praying strong on Taiwan. Taiwan is my country. They're my dark horse. Yeah.
I would love if it is Taiwan, but it's going to be tricky, really. Of course, it would be awesome if we see a miraculous losers bracket run from Brazil. I don't see that happening all the way to grand finals, but it would be great. I think, though, I have to see a bit more of Vietnam, I believe. But otherwise, I think Taiwan is a great team. But I also think the Philippines is looking like a very insane contender.
Yeah, I think the Philippines have a solid chance, but as you know, I always like to bet for the dark horses, and right now the dark horses look to be my blood of Vietnam.
Right, that seems like
Wrong.
a good enough provision. It's not really a dark horse when you're still number 1, but I'll take
Wow.
that. I mean, they're looking great, so I mean, it's a fair prediction. But all right, everyone, ladies, gentlemen, also players, that's been it for the semifinals Mappool Showcase, and I hope to see you all next weekend with some action, some matches, and well, the last stage of best of 11, right? After that, we have best of 13.
Wow. But yeah.
Wow, 2 more maps to the pool.
Goodbye.
Yeah, that means more maps. Yeah, back to Pal World.
Back to Power World.
It's time to open Football Manager. Let's go.
All right. Well, goodbye.
I think you got muted before that.
Fuck.
Get wrecked.
What the fucking hell?